What is going on, you guys? It is Dollar Cost Crypto here with, I don't know, I guess sack time? I am joined today by Buck and Dylan, who are in the, can you bring them up, please? What's up, man?
What's going on, sir?
Sheesh. And Buck's somewhere in the ether.
I'm here, guys. Thanks for having us. That's an amazing intro video and setup that you've got here. I'm very impressed.
Hey, thank you, man. Thank you. Works very hard on it, definitely. But yeah, man, welcome on the show, you guys. Basically, I've been wanting to bring these guys on the show for quite a while. We've been trying to set this up. Everyone's very busy, got crazy schedules. And the reason I wanted to bring you guys on here, obviously, is because you guys are launching a really cool product / token and everything like that in the I would call it the Hex ecosystem more than I guess the PulseChain ecosystem, because a little birdie told me you guys might be launching something on the Ethereum chain.
Yes, we're very excited about all that stuff.
You mind going into that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. We have 3 products. 2 of them have coins attached to them. One is Fiat, which is a fork of Aave, right? But it's catered to the RH ecosystem and all the things associated with that stuff, right?
Right.
So simply put, it is like a bank for PulseChain and soon to be on Ethereum in Q1, right? Very, very bullish. Very, very interesting things that you can do with this stuff. Borrowing and lending Hex and Hedron or PulseChain and PulseX.
And I'll also add, Dylan, there a few other things like Shiba that potentially have big communities, but are also not served by Aave currently. So we're going to hopefully be onboarding people from across the ERC20 world into eFiat.
Oh, dude, that's hella cool, man. That's crazy that that community isn't being serviced at all. That's insane. I mean, are they doing Doge at all? Do you know?
No, Aave doesn't list anything like Shiba, Doge, obviously Hex, right?
Yeah.
They don't list Hedron. They don't list any of the things that the Hexagon community cares about at the moment, right? They usually list things that are widely accepted or that have, very thick liquidity, I guess you could say.
So vanilla.
But yeah, I mean, our on Fiat, the cool thing that we're doing, we have this revenue sharing design, right? So that looks something like, you stake your Fiat tokens, right? And as people are borrowing and lending, the range of different currencies on Fiat, you get a spread of that difference, what the borrower is paying back the lender. And you can accrue a passive bag of a range of different currencies depending on use, right? So, it has a cash flow attached to it. And I think that's something that, separates itself from Aave, right? Because Aave doesn't have that. Their token is like an insurance policy in case there is any sort of bad debt on the platform or anything like that. So pretty excited about that feature.
No, I mean that is really cool. I mean, I have been seeing the sort of that's at least there's a couple of tokens that I know of and stuff. GMX being one of them, and Looks Rare, a couple of other ones as well. Luvium that kind of have this. As people are using the protocol generates fees, and let's give some of those fees back to the users by owning the token and stuff like that, as well as some governance as well. That's kind of mishmashed in there and stuff like that, where things like there's like Uniswap token and stuff where it's just the token has nothing to do with the protocol at all. Basically, it's just basically for them to like sell it for liquidity, basically for the team, and so that's really, I mean, that's really interesting. So I mean, so basically, you guys already did the sacrifice. Basically, you guys did a sacrifice phase already for the the Fiat token already, but you guys are currently still doing the sac phase for the Phamous token, right? And
that's correct.
There's a little bonus to that, right? And I'm guessing that's if I got this correctly, that's people who sacrifice get a certain allocation of the Ethereum version of the Aave protocol you guys are making for the Hex community. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yep. So our Fiat sac for the PulseChain allocation, we had that back in April, I believe, of 2022, and that was open for 5 days, and we hit our target and we closed it. I think it was around $3.5 to $4 million, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. And then we it was kind of rushed a little bit, that sac phase, because at the time, if you guys remember, it was thought that PulseChain was going to launch in May. So we kind of hurried that up and were prepared for PulseChain to go live, right? And then here we are.
But how could we have guesstimated that? I mean, how could so many people have thought May as well? I've had people kind of hit back on me that, like, I guess not recently, but in the last month or so, kind of like, what do you mean? How could you guys have known that it was pretty, like, it was gonna come out, basically? And then you had 3 Arrows, Luna. Basically, the entire crypto industry took a shit, basically, and things got delayed. And then on top of that, you had the upgrade on Ethereum as well happen later that year, as well. So it's just a plethora of bullshit, basically, that caused the delay and stuff like that. So, yeah, interesting.
Yep. So we then we opened up our announcement for Phamous, which you mentioned earlier about GMX. Phamous is a fork of GMX, and it shares the exact same revenue sharing design as Fiat does. GMX has a little bit of a different tokenomic for their revenue sharing,
right?
But generally it's the same concept, right? Instead of 30% on GMX going to the stakers, on our platform Phamous, you'd get 40% of the fees going to the stakers of the Fame token. So
right,
pretty excited about that. And if you guys haven't been paying attention about GMX, it's been doing fabulous. It's been a bear market sweetheart, and I think for the 2022 year, it's performed, I believe, 80% for that entire year up, right, from the beginning to the end of 2022.
Can you share my screen for 1 minute? Let's see. Yeah, because we got basically GMX about $50 per token right now, And and the yield's been pretty decent as well. I mean, so I've got a question about that. So I mean, obviously, Buck can answer this too as well. But obviously, GMX on Arbitrum is paying you in Ethereum, and then GMX on Avalanche is paying you Avalanche. So so in terms of like, so what are you earning in terms of yield on the Aave protocol that you're having launch on Ethereum? And then what are you earning on PulseChain?
Yeah, so with our protocols, we have a slightly different staking earnings system where you're going to be earning all the tokens that are being used on the platforms. So you can think of it like you're going to be receiving cash flows basically in everything that's on there. So for Fiat, you're going to see Pulse, you're going to see Hex, you're going to see Hedron, you're going to see Shiba. Whatever is on the platform and is being borrowed and lent is going to be paying you. And then for Fame, that it's going to be similar. So Dylan could probably show you what that looks like in action on our platform.
Yeah, for sure.
But GMX is obviously one of the best performers. It's done about 120 million in fees since its inception. Which is about a little over a year ago now. Yeah. And that's a really impressive number because you have to kind of add that number back to the actual cost or the actual price of the token when you think about its return. So there's quite a few people forking this now on other L1s as well, and these things are doing pretty well. So we like to see that. The really cool thing about what we're doing, I think, because it's one thing to fork something, but it's another thing to have all the kind of major users on an L1 involved in the actual protocol, and that's what we've really done with Fiat and Fame.
Right.
So we sort of horizontally integrated across. We've got banking through Fiat, and now we've got leverage trading through Fame. Right. But it's basically one brand that connecting both of those worlds.
No doubt.
And because Dylan and I are both Hex OGs and know everybody, we got just about everybody in the community involved in these sacrifices who really cares about it. So it's going to be very hard now for somebody else to come in and compete against us here. So that's what you want to see.
Yeah, it is hard. Well. It is hard to get the Hexagon community to back you. Basically, like Hexagons only want Hexagons a little bit, but it doesn't mean that if someone doesn't create something pretty cool that people won't use it. But I think you guys have definitely created yourself a nice moat, basically, off of that. And then and that's always that's something like a lot of my. I've recently had quite a lot of videos being like tweeted out right now, just me talking about community. I mean, I talked about like the Hex community being like the most. As like body to weight ratio or body to strength ratio and stuff like that, it's like the most YouTubed and Twitter focused community I would say in all of crypto right now, and obviously that's going to keep going as soon as PulseChain goes along, because we're going from I would say like a one god religion to like a pantheon of god religions. Basically, I mean, like I've made the example like a bunch of times about like the Thanos gauntlet, right? The rich. These are like the richer heart ecosystem tokens, right? The Hex, the ones he approves, right? But there is sort of like a holy trinity or a couple of these projects that are like pro ecosystem tokens, and then of course there's going to be a plethora of like I'd say dark triad tokens, which are just usury sort of bullshit meme tokens and stuff like that. But you can't help that, right? But I think you guys have like really cemented on a really cool aspect of the ecosystem that I teach a lot, is kind of like there are these I kind of make fun of this a little bit, but I call it like the L1 starter pack. So it's like, what do you need to start an L1 starter pack, right? It's usually you need a gas token, you need a borrowing and lending, you need basically a DEX, and then you need a NFT protocol and somewhere to trade NFTs, basically, right? And one place that we were severely lacking was the lending protocol, and I would probably put like a GMX as like sort of a second layer on top of the lending, more or less, because you are when you're leveraging, you are borrowing expect and to a certain aspect of that and stuff like that. So I mean, with the leverage, obviously this is not now, right? So obviously we're going like in terms of, I'm just trying to bring like a kind of a roadmap here. You guys are going to first launch the Ethereum version of your aave of like Phamous, and then from there, I'm sorry, not Phamous,
of Fiat.
Fiat. I'm sorry, a Fiat, and then from there, once PulseChain launches, then you're gonna launch that again on PulseChain, and then the GMX version, which is a Phamous. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. That's right.
And,
That's right.
And in terms of like, obviously you're not going to launch both of them at the same time, so I'm guesstimating you're probably doing the aave version first and then the GMX version afterwards, once you've established the first one. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You go ahead.
So the timing is sort of dependent on Richard with that.
Right.
We're very ready to launch this on Ethereum and PulseChain for Fiat. For Fame, we might want to go back and do some more work on it for a few more months.
Right.
I suspect so. If PulseChain were to launch tomorrow, we'd probably be deploying Fiat the day after,
right,
on the chain to test it, right? But if we're talking about a scenario, which I think is very likely, where PulseChain takes at least another 3 months, yeah. I imagine by then we're going to have Fiat live on Ethereum, and we're going to be very advanced in terms of our preparedness for Fame and the Phamous protocol as well. So they can actually be launched, therefore, concurrently, potentially. And it'll probably also depend on the volatility of PulseChain as well.
Right.
We'll probably launch them both, but we won't make them public to people until we think it's safe for the protocols and for users, because I expect the early days of PulseChain to be incredibly volatile.
Yeah.
So we'll want to work through that first.
Yeah, I always was telling, because I did tell my students about the obviously your guys' entire projects and stuff I had during the courses and stuff, and one thing I did say, I was like, don't expect it to be I honestly told them, like, it'd probably be like 2 to 3 months into it, probably closer to 2 months, just for things to kind of level the hell out a little bit, and then to launch it and stuff. And because there's actually another what was it, I think you had Mintra as well, is doing the same sort of thing, where like you don't want to launch when like everything's crazy, because some mistakes, bad things could happen. Bad things could happen, basically.
Yeah, we can't launch when it's like that, because obviously the protocol might break. So we'll let that play through. But even if we could launch, it would probably be unethical, because it'll just be so volatile, and people will just be getting liquidated left and right.
Right.
So bear with us on that. However, I will say there's nothing stopping us from issuing the token on day one,
right,
which is what I plan to do. Which is what I plan to do with Fiat. Gotcha. So those guys are going to have liquidity early, and I suspect that's going to be very useful for them. It was a discussion we actually had as a community as well, because I asked them what they wanted, but I think it's very useful for them to have something that's rapidly appreciating in value, right, and is scarce at the beginning of PulseChain.
Right.
And I think that's what's likely to happen for the Fiat sacrificers, is that Fiat token will be very scarce, and other things will be much less scarce. So I want to give them the chance to take advantage of that.
Definitely. How have you dealt with your community, like, during this bear market? Obviously, like, there's a lot of crybabies. I mean, not for your project specifically, but just like overall, like the bear market is really like gut punched a lot of people, right? And like this is why I know there's gonna be a lot of volatility when the launch happens, because they're starving coyotes for some gains right now. That's for sure.
I'm really impressed with my guys. Like, I get no complaints from them whatsoever. They've been very patient. I obviously, it's not our fault that PulseChain's delayed, but
no, it is, bro. It definitely is. No. I'm not gonna let you escape the buck. I'm tired of you running away from this. Why? Okay. Why is it delayed, bro? It's there. You go. Finally, you see. Listen. Finally. Son of a bitch.
But yeah, these guys have been great to us, honestly. So all the Fiat guys are very grateful. We had only one guy say, I want to get out, and the guy went crazy and invested in Colt and
oh my God,
Dodeca, which both died. I think, like, Dodeca really died. So,
No.
so I was nice enough to find him a buyer to get him out of that position, and he went and put it straight into Dodeca and it went to zero. So
hit a Pepe on that. God
yeah.
damn, dude. Sheesh, the chat said triple wrecked. Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a nice guy, man. You're a nice guy to find somebody to, get him some liquidity and stuff. But dude,
it was a 5-figure number too, right? Yeah. Like the guy put straight into Dodeca. And I won't say who picked it up from him, but it's somebody you guys all know, and I suspect he'll do a lot better out of that than the guy who took that money and put it into Dodeca. So congrats to that guy. You know who you are. Yeah.
I'm not trying to laugh, but it's just like, man, it's no bueno. Yeah, that's not great.
It's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, it's
reality.
I'm not trying to laugh at the guy, but like the thing, like I would actually feel really bad for the guy if he wasn't spurging out. He was like, because like there is people that like, the thing is like at least you have that ability to do that somewhat, but like you have to on the other sacrifices that's happened and stuff, you really don't have that ability really, because of like you wouldn't really trust somebody to like, like, oh man, let me sell you my wallet so I can give you my sack. Like, bro, no, like that's not gonna happen, for a lot of people. So that's both a good and a bad thing, but this is the sort of thing where like you did have people way more like people always. I mean, it's everyone's financial responsibility. This is why I put in the beginning of my videos. At the end of the day, you push the green or the red button. You have to take responsibility for your actions, right? And this is kind of the reason why. Like, I mean, this comes from like the red pill, straight up. Like, it's your fucking fault, always. It's like. And now it's now the whole fault thing is all about, it's just taking ultimate responsibility. It's kind of a David Goggins sort of stance almost a little bit, but having that responsibility allows you to then you can fix your problems or like make things better, right? But and that's a really good mentality. That's why I feel like a lot of the guys from the red pill, shout out to Rollo, Tomassi, and all the other guys from the red pill have done very well in crypto actually, just because they take that responsibility and then they're long-term holders of good projects and stuff like that. And we've been able to help them a lot through that. But there's also people that come with not that more of a victim mentality and kind of pipe dreams a little bit, and it's really bit them in the ass. And they're usually the exit liquidity basically, Yeah,
that's a really nice message you have there. I saw that in the start of your thing, and I really liked it. You shouldn't be in crypto unless you're going to take responsibility for your choices, not just from what you invest in, but your wallets and everything else you do. And that's really the name of the game. And I'm a believer in that as something that actually really changes the world.
Yeah.
Right. Too often in the world we depend on Big Brother or the government or whatever to save our asses. Right. Which is fine. I'm not against having social security nets and safety nets for people. But if you're going to play in crypto, you need to be responsible for yourself.
Right.
And it's a great mentality to take to the rest of your life as well. I think if you ultimately are deciding your own destiny and your own path, you're probably going to be more effective as a human being. Right. If you're just going to leave it up to someone else to figure out how to get you there, then it doesn't work out that well usually.
I mean, we leaned into Buck for PulseChain and look what it's led us. Terrible.
Trial.
Whoa, what was that?
Sounded like a chick's voice.
Yeah, it sounded like a chick's voice.
I thought Hodprol had entered the chat suddenly.
But yeah, all jokes aside, that did sound like a chick's voice. What the hell? But anyway, it's the crypto is like the ultimate expression of freedom and stuff like that. You have we've never in the history of like humanity had this much power over our money, really. And obviously it isn't ultimate power. Like obviously it isn't like outside of a couple people who do have the print button in the crypto space. There's people who have backdoors and cryptos and all that stuff, or just certain rules where they could print and stuff like that. But this is these are almost like shared. Like these cryptos are almost, they're like some of them are businesses / religions to like more like communities with religions and stuff and coins and stuff. Like it's very like every coin's a little different, but basically it is this whole, there is this huge community aspect to it. But because the supply is either limited or the inflation's small, there's or some of them have an infinite print and then price hockey stick down. There's been some memes of some coins that spell out loser. I'm not sure which which coins are those, but choose your own destiny or choose your own adventure, right? But I think that's just kind of, it is what it is there. But yeah, man. So actually, I completely forgot to ask this, man. But you would you mind giving you guys like the a little bit of your backgrounds and stuff like that, and kind of
Sure,
what you guys kind of do for like these projects?
Buck, you want to start or you want me to go? I'll go. Buck lost his audio.
Oh, got you.
But yeah, so I mean, I've been in the crypto space since 2017. I watched Bitcoin top in December. That's when I entered, December of 2017.
Dang.
And I didn't on one of these obscure ticker websites and watched a bunch of volume going in and out, and was just amazed on how much money was moving around, right? And then I ended up buying Ethereum at the time, and that did quite well. I watched that top in January, and I didn't sell a fucking thing, right? So I watched that go down as well.
Round of applause, you guys.
Yeah, didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I think it's almost like a rite of passage when you first get into crypto, to get wrecked. I think naturally, if you don't get wrecked, you never learn, and you just really never make it, right? So I had my rite of passage. Okay. I kept all of my economic mass that I had injected. I kept it in crypto, right? And I just kept buying right throughout 2018 and stuff. I stumbled across Richard in 2018. And I followed him because the things he would say were very intelligent, and his very Bitcoin. And at the time, that's what I was mostly in, was Bitcoin. And then I followed him through Hex, right? So I was there on day one when we launched. Put a little bit of my shekels into Hex around that time. Aped into Hex, throughout its 1 year launch phase, and really enjoyed the community, so much so that I became a Telegram admin for a bunch of the RH channels and stuff, right? Basically every day since then, since becoming an admin, I've been in the Telegram chats, volunteering my time, helping everybody out, shit posting lots of memes, and keeping the atmosphere light, and keeping the bears unbanned, right? So that's basically why I became an admin. But yeah, I mean, that's my little journey, and now I'm here, trying to get the word out about these lending protocols for the RH ecosystem, so that that market is fulfilled, right? Because there are people that want to short Hex, and they will definitely be able to short Hex to their heart's content with Phiat and Phamous, right? And I think the person that would like this the most would be Richard. I think if you go on that streaming service search engine thing, right?
Yep.
And you just look up short, it'll give you like 20 videos of where Richard has basically said, I wish, he's got his hands like this, and he's like, please, I wish somebody would build something where people could short Hex.
Right.
And by golly, we have definitely are trying to fulfill that promise for sure. So
definitely,
we're excited about that stuff. So
that is I mean, obviously we've all been in Hex since the beginning and stuff like that. So we've heard him saying it a million times. But obviously, he wouldn't want to be the one to create it because like there is, it's kind of it just is now. So this is a very interesting sort of thing. So you guys are creating, like, I think really good products here. I think the fundamentals are sound. I mean, I sacked for Phamous, and the only one I didn't sack for was obviously for Fiat. I could have, but I felt like weird about it because there was just not enough time left over to get my, like, I wanted my guys to get in as well and stuff, and I felt kind of like, oh, look at this, I got into the token, but you guys didn't, haha. Like,
It was very short, man.
Yeah, very short. I mean, yeah, I think I found out about there was like $1 million left or something like that to get in. Like,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. So
and then there was literally $1 million on the last day. Basically, it filled up. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, but that is a kind of cool thing. One thing I really did appreciate about you guys was that the sacks were very limited. Like there's people that like just let it all flow. It like $80 million, let's go. You know what I mean? Versus like you guys like we just need this. That's it. Which is I think that was a very interesting and very, like it really did give like it gave you guys a little more feather in your cap a little bit because obviously because you didn't take as much you don't let the market cap go as crazy, right? Because it's like if you take a lot of money then the starting market cap is a lot higher, or the valuation of the company, or like I'll just say the valuation of the company, and that's a little easier for the guys to understand, is a lot higher. So the multiples kind of lower down, but when you have a lower market cap when it launches, you can get higher multiples.
It's a great point. And one of our devs had posted some preliminary numbers of where we kind of are if these things are valued at their sacks or whatever, if you wanted to put it like that, without any sort of expectations. But the combined market caps of like Fiat and Phamous, as it sits right now, is still like within the 20 million range. So that's combined.
That's combined. Wow.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting.
No, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's actually better than that though in a way because you don't really have to worry about the treasury. So it's actually so if you want to actually account for it properly, it's actually much lower. Right. That's assuming the treasury is going to come and sell everything, right, and float it. So it's actually way lower, single digit millions for both.
That's pretty cool. So Buck, did you want to give a little you want to give your background to the guys?
Yeah, let's do it. So obviously I'm one of 3 founders of Phiat and Phamous .io, but originally I'm a finance guy. I work in the investment world in traditional finance and have done so for nearly 20 years. I've been in crypto since 2013. Got into a big bull market then when Bitcoin went to about $1,000 originally and got annihilated. As Dylan was saying, it has to happen to everybody at least once.
It's the rite of passage.
Part of the rite of passage, correct. I was always interested in crypto and Bitcoin, even from earlier period, because I kind of like the idea of decentralizing finance. Especially because early in my finance career, I lived through Lehman Brothers and was pretty scarred and jaded by that. So Bitcoin was a direct response to what happened to Lehman Brothers,
right?
And what that whole thing, which happened probably before Dylan was born, but for me, this was a very big event in my life, and so I've always been interested in it. I started listening to Richard in 2017 when he started streaming. And I quite liked his takes on things. I'm a Hex OG, but I'm somebody that's probably known for speaking their mind and not being afraid to piss people off with my views, which meant that I was probably pretty disliked by a lot of the Hex Maxi guys for the longest time.
I'm with you there, bro.
And I was pretty bearish on Hex, a year and a half ago. When it went through this massive bull run as well. And Dylan and I kind of found each other because Dylan was the one guy in the Hex trading admin, group that actually cared about people having real opinions and was willing to give me a chance, which was a very important thing for him. He doesn't realize it, but he's going to make a lot of money off of this someday. But that was the thing that let me know that this guy cared about integrity and honesty. So So about a year ago, I went and I met Richard in London at this party, and I could see the movement, and I could see that there was a lot of stuff that needed to be built to make Hex and PulseChain bigger and better, and I thought it made sense to get involved. through my connections in the finance world, where everything we do is heavily quantitative, involves a lot of computer science.
Right.
We have access to some pretty top level computer programmers, and basically I've partnered with these guys to build these protocols. So what we're building is built in-house internally by our team. Yeah, we're very, very proud of our work, and we take it very seriously. I know it's kind of grown-up stuff that Zoomers don't care about, but it's if you're actually going to deposit your money with us, you want to know that we're actually pretty good at this, and we're boring guys that know how to manage risk very, very well.
Right.
So, and then in terms of the two protocols, one last thing I'll say is being able to short, being able to leverage, being able to hedge. These are very important things for managing a portfolio. And these were tools that we didn't have when Hex was 50 cents that I really wish I had access to.
Right.
So it's a bit of building those tools as well for the next time.
But so that's interesting question. So like, but at the same time, you also have to now like, so this is what I wanted to bring back. So you guys are bringing something in that like didn't really exist in our market. So we had a very, very simplistic market, right, for the most part. Like the average trading on Hex was just either Hex to Ethereum or Hex to USDC. That's it. So it was kind of like a very old traditional model and stuff like that. There really wasn't any leverage unless you were sophisticated enough or had enough Ethereum to then borrow on ETH or something on Aave to get USDC or something like that to then go buy Ethereum. Like it was kind of a workaround sort of system. Like most Hexicans wouldn't think like that, and it was kind of always like pushed against by by Richard, not to use leverage. Right now, I do think leverage is important, but I also I do think it's going to make a lot of money and stuff like that, and I think it's going to do very well for itself. But it is a vice. It is this is kind of like a theme I've been talking about in the courses a bit as well. That we're going from that one token religion, sort of very maximalist, to like we've kind of shattered the persona a little bit, or the I guess how Hexican will probably think of himself or his investments, because he's going to a multi-token world. Even if he is just like the Thanos gauntlet, these 6 tokens that are like Richard Hart approves, right? That's more than one. And on top of that, one, it has yield farming aspect on top of it, which is creating LPs, yield farming, earning yield, and there's a lot of like you can very quickly fall into degeneracy, right? So it's like, now I think a sophisticated investor will be able to short and make some money, of course, right? But at the same time as well, you have a lot of people that would have gone super long, got really wrecked, and it probably the thing. So in terms, like, if let's just say we did, let's just say as an example, we did have not just Fiat, but let's just say as an example, we had like three players, right? Usually in the market, you usually have the Pepsi Cola, and you got a third player, right? And let's just say we had that type of leverage back when the price did go to 50 cents, right? How do you think Hex would have crashed even harder because of all the leverage and stuff? Because I know in terms of Phantom, I was really in that ecosystem, and a lot of the whales got extremely long and took a shit ton of leverage, and it giga crashed Phantom harder than it should have, basically, and caused like mass liquidations and stuff. So I mean, how are you guys? Obviously, I know you guys got the risk parameters and stuff like that to try to control that side of it, hopefully, but you obviously you guys can't fully control human, ingenuity, I should call it.
There's
actually, let me take this one, Dylan.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, of course.
But the first thing I want to say is that leverage is good. We use leverage every day.
Right.
But you need to know what you're doing, right? When you guys get a mortgage, you're using leverage, right? You buy that house today, even though you can't come up with the money to buy it yet. Right. So this is a very normal thing, right? So much of life, and I know you're an educator, so like I'm talking to your students here.
Yeah.
So much of life is about knowing that there's many things that can be used as tools, or things that can be used tools to destroy yourself, right? Whether it's a handgun or alcohol or leverage or whatever. It doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. Used by the right people who know what they're doing and have the discipline to use them properly, they're essential things. in a sense. You need to be able to defend yourself, right? You need to be able to cover your positions. You need to be able to leverage when you think it's prudent. When Richard tells you don't leverage trade, he's talking to you like you're a child, which is not a bad idea for someone in his position, right? Because he's got a massive audience, right? And many of those people have absolutely no idea what they're doing. So I would say that's fine. Yeah, if you don't understand what these tools are for and how they should be used, you probably should not use them. Just like I don't think you should be prescribing yourself medicine if you aren't a doctor, right?
But I have to self-medicate, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
Exactly. So it's one of those things where inherently people get they want to blame someone else because they were irresponsible. And as we talked about earlier, crypto is one of those things where you must be responsible.
Right.
So that's the first thing. But these tools are tools that I use every day at work, and every fund manager uses, and they're totally normal and they work, and they're not risky, and used appropriately, they're amazing. As a matter of fact, the whole financial system doesn't function properly without them. Right.
But you are a sophisticated investor.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And I work in a team, of people that are watching. We're watching each other, and we're second guessing each other, and all that stuff. Right. It's very important. So if you don't have an information edge, and you don't know what you're doing, you probably don't want to be leverage trading, in my opinion. Right. So but that's the first thing. The second thing I want to say about it is basically these tools will exist on PulseChain whether or not we build them.
Yep.
Is the other thing. That's the key thing.
Now, that's why I'm having you guys on and stuff like this. I think you guys are good people and stuff like you guys like regardless or not, right? I'd rather this is going to happen whether we like it or not. This is going to happen. Now, we had Hex, so I mean, obviously it would have been nice if we could have had this stuff let's just say PulseChain. I think if PulseChain didn't happen, I think you guys still would have made your product here, which is awesome. So it's cool, right? We would have the Ethereum version of it, but there's more of an incentive to actually have it once we have the L1, right? Obviously, right? But this was going to happen regardless or not. So it's I'd rather have Hexicans and people who care about the community to actually launch this versus kind of having these fucking Viking invaders coming in and just setting up shop and extracting value from this is a community we can take advantage of. Where this is more of a shared sort of thing, because they could have very much jerry-rigged it to a point where it was very unbeneficial to the Hex community. But it would have been it's sort of like I don't know, like the British coming into the well, I should say the Chinese doing this now too. I'll do the Chinese example. Why not? Because hey, it's 2022-3. It's like the Chinese dumping fentanyl into Mexico for them to distribute it across the United States, which is Pulse land, basically. So I was gonna go opium wars, but no, screw that, man. 2023. But so I mean, I totally agree with you that no matter what, this was going to happen, and I'd much rather it happen in the hands of a Hexican than not. But I do want to clarify that point again, that you are a sophisticated investor with a team, 20 years experience, and that isn't the average person. 95, 99%. I would say probably 5 to 1% of people do generally they got this shit down pretty well. But even those people, even the financial, even the top brass, the top of the pyramid of financial advisors and stuff like that, and people in the financial services industry still get fucking wrecked as well. All the
Tiger Capital.
Tiger Capital. Yeah, that's true. Tiger Capital and stuff like that. And he taught a lot of people his little tricks as well and stuff like that. Yeah. But leverage is a powerful tool. But like with housing, right? I mean, if you did the old 20% down, it's 5x long or something like that. But then there's also in that leverage, there's also very specific rules and protections as well, right? Where the house value could fucking fall to 10 grand, but as long as you're paying the mortgage payment, you don't get liquidated. Right, in a fixed mortgage outside. I mean, that was one of the biggest mindfucks in my life when I learned our real estate market is so much better than 99% of the world's housing market. The Australians and the fucking Aussies and the people from UK and people from Europe have this crazy dumb sort of system of having basically balloons basically in arms, which instead of fixed rate mortgages and stuff, which is crazy to me. But I don't know. I mean, this is coming from an American as well. Like we're like gun-toting, loving, drinking, leverage-loving Americans, and like we have like one of the most grandpa versions of the real estate market in the world. And then compared to everyone else, like, yeah, I don't know.
We learned our lesson in 2008. I'll tell you that.
Heck yeah, man.
That was a hard lesson to learn.
I don't know. Am I talking a little out of pocket here? I mean, how do you guys feel about that a little bit? I mean, because I truly like 100%. I like that's the reason I invested in you know I sacked in these projects and stuff like that, because I was like, this is going to happen regardless, and I'd rather like this seems like the best option.
Yeah, so I'll add a few more things here.
Sure.
So, okay, so we established that it's good that it's going to happen anyway, so
Yeah.
it might as well be us, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually not just us, it's all of you,
Yeah.
right? These tools exist on Binance chain already. It's called Binance. CZ gets all the money, right? Why shouldn't you guys be CZ, right?
Yep.
So the team, we're going to be, you know, small single-digit owners of this protocol. Right. The token's going to primarily be owned by the community. And that's a very positive thing because these things are incredibly profitable. The wealthiest people in the world are usually the people that control the financial systems in an economy. You know, that's why Goldman Sachs, you associate that with wealth for a reason, because they're basically performing the same services as Phiat and Phamous in the real world. So we're basically creating a relatively small sacrifice for two essential DeFi primitives on PulseChain that are basically going to be community owned, and they're going to be decentralized. I'm not going to control these things. I'm not going to be some evil CZ guy. They're just going to be there on the blockchain, and that's a big improvement over them existing on CeFi. So a good example of this would be FTX, right? You know, and it's a really wonderful thing for the community as well, because you don't want robber barons like Sam Bankman-Fried and CZ, Vikings as he called them, come in and get all the pulse.
Yeah.
No, that's no bueno, right? Because you see how that you know breaks down.
Right.
And furthermore, when you look at how those guys went wrong in the traditional finance world, this is nothing new. What happened to Sam and Celsius and all these other guys? This happens every time there's a bubble anywhere in the world. Right. There's always shadow banks in the traditional finance world where somebody commits fraud, somebody overlevers, and it ends badly for that person. Right. The beauty of DeFi is, and why it's so earth-shatteringly cool, is we're taking everything that I currently do in the traditional finance world and putting it on the blockchain where you guys can all see it. And that's a huge innovation that I don't think even the guys at JP Morgan understand yet. Honestly, it's a tremendous thing. And the one very cool thing I can say about PulseChain is that we are pretty much the only DeFi native community in crypto, because we're so gate kept. We all know how to use MetaMask. We all know how to stake. Most people who have crypto, it never leaves their Coinbase account.
That is a great point. Like, the level, the I guess I wouldn't. Well, I guess the financial education or the crypto education that the Hexagons have is such a high level compared to the rest of the crypto communities. It is really insane. Like, if you're a Hexagon, you're pretty much like a 1%er in the space and stuff, which is that's kind of crazy to say and stuff, because like you're right, like we're so DeFi native, like we own our keys, we're using dexes. I mean, we're moving cross. Well, some of us are, moving, from OP over to Phantom over to all these other things, or at the very least, or even the people who are just simply using just Hex alone, but are using the best practices are a lot safer than the average, like I would say, consumer coming into like crypto and stuff, because they have all their money on Coinbase basically.
Yeah, I mean, this community has gone through a steep learning curve that the rest of crypto hasn't gone through, right? Like, I mean, I was just talking to an old friend the other day, yesterday, and they chucked they said 20K at Bitcoin at like 30 grand or something, when it was about 30K or something like that, right? And it's sitting on his Coinbase still, right? He watched it go up. He was like, wow, yeah, I'm doing great, right, at the top. And then he didn't sell anything, of course. And now he looks at the price and he's like, oh, this shit's a fucking scam. I don't even know what the fuck I have anymore. I don't even look at it. It's just, but it's still sitting on his Coinbase, right? He has no idea that this entire, self-custody thing exists, or how to store your keys or anything like that, right? So that's, sadly what most of the people that buy this stuff in general, what they do. And the hexagons, they're just they're bred different, right? We have hopefully everybody has their keys on a piece of paper, stored in a safe, has a hardware wallet or something like this, right? And have safe practices and everything like that, right? And it's an advantage we have over the rest of crypto that has to go through that learning curve all over again. Not only did they have to learn about crypto, but now they have to learn, okay, well, what the hell is this DeFi stuff? Okay, well, I can go and trade on these trustless liquidity pools, or I can go and borrow trustlessly instead of going on something like Celsius or BlockFi, right? These are things that people have yet to learn, and that's opportunity, I would say, off the bat. But I wanted to bring something up earlier, or you mentioned things about Phamous and stuff and how leverage is dangerous. But there's one thing that I wish I had when Hex was at the top, since I do have a lot of stakes, right? So imagine a world where Hex is at 50 cents, okay? And there's people dancing on coffins, right? And most of your Hex is staked, okay? Right. Well, how can you de-risk? There's not really a good way for you to de-risk without using leverage at that time, right? Whereas if you went short on something like Phamous with a portion of your stack, right, and you levered up and you wrote it down, you could have dampened the volatility of your losing your stack, right? Because you're staked. You cannot sell those stakes, right? Otherwise you'll incur further penalties, if you early end stake and stuff like this, right?
So it's just like insurance is the word you want, is the thing you want to compare it to.
Exactly. Yeah. So you take a portion of your stack, and then you lever it up and you short, right? And then you have essentially an insurance policy on downside movement, right? And if the market goes up, well, guess what? You're still staked. You may have lost a half a percent or something like that on your stack, but hey, it went up 2x. So what's a half a percent among friends, right? And then the inverse of that, let's say you're sitting on cash, right? And Richard is buying lots of Prada, and people are making music videos about the haters' tears rolling off of his clothing, okay? Right. And he's got shopping bags in his mouth, right? And you're sitting on a pile of cash, and you think that the bottom is close, but you're not entirely certain that it is. So for you to protect against the upside, you could open up a levered long as an insurance policy to decrease your entry price in case the market starts to run away from you. Like, some guy sold 160 million Hex the other day, but you still think that the bottom has not yet come. But as an insurance policy,
trial.
Oh, I think your audio went out, man.
Yeah, I think our audio is not working.
Oh shoot!
Is it good now?
You good?
There we go. Yeah, your audio's back.
Yeah.
Audio's back.
So, I mean, you open up that insurance policy, and the market is starting to run away, and it's not as painful as it would have been if you didn't open up that long with a portion of your stack, right?
Right.
So there are ways to use leverage without being, a paint sniffing degenerate, right? There's plenty of ways to do
Very
this.
virtuous.
Yeah.
Very virtuous ways to use leverage. Yep. And in fact, you should expect to get liquidated when you're using derivatives. You should expect, that's kind of their point. They're there to help you hedge the rest of your portfolio, right? So the original usage for derivatives was farmers that were, let's say, growing grain, and they would want to lock in a price today for the future, right? Because if you had a drought or the opposite, a ton of rain, that would have a big impact on the price in the future. And if it's a drought, it could mean the value of your grain goes up. But if it's a lot of rain, the value of your grain can go to zero because there's just too much of it. So that's where the derivatives markets come from, and they're very, very virtuous things. But that's okay. This is the space for professional investors, and Aave is very much a B2B, business to business protocol. But you don't have to care about any of that stuff to use what we're doing. as a staker, right? Just like you don't need to understand investment banking, mergers and acquisitions or capital markets to buy shares in JP Morgan, right? It's it's one of the world's most successful companies. That's all you need to care about, right? So that's what these protocols and how they're very different from probably the rest of crypto, as you mentioned. These protocols actually pay you cash flows every time someone uses them.
Yeah.
The same way a corporation pays you, dividends from their earnings. So this is a very exciting thing. So you don't even have to use it. The people that are going to use it will use it.
Right.
But it's historically been a pretty good place to make money. Goldman Sachs is worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. JP Morgan's is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The richest people in the world are the people that control the financial system.
Yeah, the assets.
Right? So
the assets. Yeah.
it's so we think it's a good place to be, guys. For that reason, the big question is how successful will PulseChain be, and the second big question is how successful will we be at being dominant on PulseChain. Right? Those are the big two questions when you think about what we're doing. But I would argue that because we've created these two protocols and a third protocol called Fatty, and I'll also make an announcement here as well that we're going to have a third protocol as well that we're going to be giving away for free. And we'll be announcing that I think on February 24th, most likely.
Gotcha.
That we're going to probably be a pretty good force in this ecosystem. We've got a lot of the major whales behind us, a lot of the Hex OGs behind us. So yeah, if PulseChain is successful, and we are successful on PulseChain, then I think these things should do pretty well.
Can you give a breakdown of what that token is or that project is?
No, I don't want to say yet. I'll just say that it's going to be a free token handed out to Phiat and Phamous sacrificers, and probably I'll try to give some as well to PulseX and Pulse sacrificers as well. I'm actually about to have a child in a few weeks, so this
congratulations.
Is my way of celebrating that is giving something back to the community who's done so much for us this year.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Dude, that's pretty cool, man. Hey, there we go, man. So we got an airdrop. We got some coins coming in, you guys. And I mean, right now you still can sacrifice for Phamous, right?
That's correct.
And where do they? I mean, Dylan, do you know where they have to go in order for them to sacrifice? Is it the same sort of thing where like you have to send? I don't know. Maybe give a breakdown of how someone could sacrifice, because obviously some people have never sacrificed before, or some people have, obviously.
Yeah. So you go to the phamous.io website with a PH, and basically you sacrifice whatever you would like, depending on what chain you're on. So if you're on Ethereum and you sacrifice using Ethereum or any of the allotted tokens on the Ethereum chain, then you can use the Ethereum address and you simply send your coins over, right? And then if you're on some sort of other layer 1 or other EVM compatible chain, you can use the EVM address, and then there's a Bitcoin address where you can send Bitcoin. But yeah, that's basically it, right? You sacrifice for the right.
And there's more importantly, there's instructions on the website for everything. Yeah. If that's all a bit confusing, just go to phamous.io and look at the sac rules. We're pretty liberal with what we accept. We accept all stable coins, Ethereum, all L1 native tokens, basically, Hex, Hedron, Pulse Bitcoin. If you're one of these guys that got wrecked this week, and you want to get rid of it because you never want to see it again, I'll take it. So there you go.
Oh man, did the Pulse Bitcoins get wrecked?
I mean, the chart doesn't look too good.
No, don't tell me that, bro. It's fucking Dogecoin forever, man. What are you talking about, man? Dog money's real, bro. Come on.
So but yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. you're sacrificing for the right of hex haters to express their their hate freely in short hex, right?
Free speech, man. Free speech.
There you go, free speech. And then simply the address that you sack from, you'll get airdropped the token according, basically. So, but all of the info is on the website, phamous.io. And I highly encourage you guys to go on the testnet and go try these things yourselves, because you can go on testnet right now and you can go play with this stuff. You can go on testnet.fiat.io with a PH, right? And then you can deposit your hex, go borrow stable coins, do whatever you want. Go trade on PulseX, right? You can go on testnet.phamous.io and you can open up longs and shorts on PulseX, Hex. You can even use Zen is on there, right? You can short Zen, loan token.
Or you need my bags for they shall pump.
There you go, Hedron, whatever you want, right? So you can go have fun on there, go get familiar with all this stuff. It's pretty cool. Like for instance, the other day, I did something really stupid on testnet, because it's all fun and games, right? It's all fake money and stuff. I borrowed $49 million of Pulse to sell, to liquidate people on liquid loans, and to liquidate people that were long on Phamous, right? So there's a ton of stuff you can do with all these tools and stuff. And while it's all fake money, right? And you can go have fun and be a gigantic degenerate gambler on testnet, so to your heart's content.
Interesting. Evil man, sir. No, I'm joking. So it's you. This is the face of the man liquidating people. Ha ha.
Yeah, here I am.
That's fucking funny, man. Holy shit. That's really fun. Actually, I actually had a question. So, like, obviously, we kind of more or less know what tokens are going to be accepted and be able to, long or short on, as well as borrow on in the beginning, right? But what are your criteria for adding a new asset to your, Phamous and Fiat, in terms of like what you can be able to trade upon or borrow against?
Buck?
Sure. So in general, with these protocols, it needs to be something that can't be manipulated very easily. So, one of the reasons why I think Hex and Shiba and these things probably haven't been on Aave is because there's a little bit of risk there. There's founder risk with Hex, right? If you're Aave and you've got a big brand and a protocol that's worth $1 billion, you're making millions and millions and millions of dollars every month. Yeah. You probably don't want to take a risk on Richard Hart, right? And that's why these guys don't come over, right? So we're people that expressly understand and support Richard Hart and aren't worried about that particular risk, right? But it is there. If the OA wants to rug PulseChain, he can. Gotcha. He can rug Hex, right? But we're okay with that. That risk, and that's just there up front. But yeah, in general, it's not going to be shitcoin of the week. It's going to be your blue chip tokens that have decent liquidity. And to also mitigate these risks, we've spent the last, I haven't, but our devs have spent the last 9 months basically figuring out ways to add new risk management tools into the protocols. And that's going to be something that's very novel that Aave doesn't have in the same capacity. So we're going to be able to sort of manage this as well. So that's going to enable things like Hedron and Hex to be there, and Shiba and whatnot. So they can rug pull Shiba, but they can't really kill us in doing it because we can limit the amount of Shiba that comes on the platform, whereas Aave V2 doesn't have that ability.
Right.
So there's there's a few things there. So yeah, expect a lot of stable coins and the blue chip style coins, plus your favorite Richard Hart coins and some other things like Shiba and whatnot. And that protocol gets used by the biggest players in the game, right? The biggest whales. They're the guys that are so big that they need to borrow hundreds of millions of dollars. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is that you'll get guys like Justin Sun from Tron, and these sorts of people come over, right? And look at PulseChain. And if you're one of these guys, you can't really invest in a hex very easily because you don't have the liquidity you need, right? So this is a very essential thing for whales to use. So it doesn't even matter if it's that useful to the little guy. What matters is that the big boys come and that they use it and they generate fees for using it. So we're targeting those kind of users for this.
Beautiful, man. I did have a question as well, another question as well. So, are you able to keep upgrading the system? So, as an example, right? Obviously, you're a fork of Aave, right? I'm just use Aave as an example, right? And everyone on Twitter is going crazy for like, oh my god, Aave v3, Aave v3. So, and then in the future, one day it might be Aave v4 or 5, or maybe they go straight to the 10, like the iPhone. Or are you just gonna pick and choose things that you want to upgrade from that, or are you just stuck at like what you're at right now, or outside of the parameters of adding tokens and stuff? So, can you talk a little bit of that process in terms of like, are you going to pick and choose things, or are you gonna just broadly just if it works for V3 or V4 Aave, then you're gonna adapt it to Famous and Fiat? Sorry.
Yeah. So without giving people expectations of future work,
Right.
I'll just point out what's possible, which is that it's relatively straightforward to redeploy and upgrade, and just tell your community to move to the upgrade. That's what you see happen with Aave. The protocols are there, and they're always going to be there. They're there forever, as long as PulseChain is a thing, as long as Ethereum is a thing. So that's a very long. It's a very long-term thing for that purpose. But the other thing is, it's like we're kind of fulfilling a function that needs to exist. It doesn't actually have to necessarily improve upon itself that much, right? Like, do you really care what Goldman Sachs or Wells Fargo is doing behind the scenes with your mortgage? Not really. You just need to be able to get a mortgage, right? So as long as what you care about is that the infrastructure is there and that it works and that you can trust it. So we're not necessarily guys that are super worried about trying to innovate and make the next new thing all the time. As a matter of fact, we've gone the other way. We're going with things that we know work,
right,
and have been tested through a very ugly bear market, right? Because too often people make the mistake of trying to jump onto the new fancy thing. And this is a good investment lesson for your students. You actually can make a lot more money oftentimes just buying high quality things at a good price than you're going to make going after the new thing that came out this week. And I almost never, ever buy things in crypto that are the hot new thing being shilled by promoters and YouTube guys, oftentimes, right, for this purpose. Because oftentimes you are literally buying in at the exact worst time when this thing is peaking, and that's why the kind of major YouTube guys out there will want to talk about them, right? Because they're after the hot new thing, right? And that's something that's worked very well for me. I remember this guy Moritz, who Dylan knows quite well, bought Stargate literally at the top of the Stargate bubble. And he said, "Oh, I hate doing this, but I bought it because the technology is so cool." And then it proceeded to dump like 90% on him, and now he can't even pay off a debt that he has to me because he's so wrecked, right?
Damn,
so
tea spilling over here. Holy shit!
Yeah, he had to delete him. He had to delete his presence from Telegram, which he's worked on for years to avoid paying out a debt. So, learn from Ritz guys. Don't buy the shitcoin of the week or the fancy new thing. Go find something that's really high quality, has a good use case, and is something that you're getting at a good price, and you're going to be happy holding it for, usually it's years, but I know crypto has a bit of a short-term bias.
Oh no,
but yeah, you should be happy.
Yeah, there's kind of like a value investing phase, and then a kind of like you're hot potatoing a little bit. in the when things get really hot and everything like that. So I mean, I understand why people do it, obviously, and there is a time and place to get into just shit coins. But I think a big part of it is knowing that you're in that phase of the market, but getting into huge amounts of debt in order to keep getting to shitcoinery is kind of like ridiculous to me. But I don't know. Yeah, just choose quality projects. Join the Citadel, you guys, because I mean, this is kind of what we go over. I mean, this is kind of the beautiful thing. Like, I kind of tested and was playing around with a lot of stuff on like Luna and everything like that, and I was just like, I wasn't liking what I was seeing, basically, outside of maybe just buying the token for the appreciation, and then I was like, this thing is going to unravel at some point, which it ended up did. But definitely, man, like the video, you guys. But yeah, man, is there anything else would you guys like to kind of like maybe dispel or maybe like talk about your ecosystem or something like that, what you're creating? Because it's really really interesting, and I really do like how that's one of the things that made me like attracted to like these projects you're creating, because they're so community focused, and like it is like returning like revenue share to the community.
Yeah, so I think one thing I'd say is there's a lot of maximalism out there and a lot of tribalism. People that own this say that you should only talk about this token. The way you get a lot of value in PulseChain and in Hex is to have a vibrant ecosystem underneath it that has lots of options for people. Not everybody likes trading, not everybody likes NFTs, but you want all these things. So you should definitely look at projects that have real utility and do something useful. So an example of this is Uniswap, right? Major utility, right? As good for the ecosystem. Hex doesn't exist really without Uniswap. It really wouldn't work the way we have it currently. Right. And DeFi wouldn't be nearly as cool without Uniswap, right? If you had to go to a CEX every time, right? And I've been in crypto long enough to remember when that was really your only option.
Yeah.
Right. And it sucked. Right. So look for projects like that actually bring something to the table. And don't put them in the same basket as meme coins and other degen kind of shitcoin of the week type things. Don't say all non-RH coins are bad, right? There's a big difference between something like what we're doing, something like what Liquid Loans is doing, and just a meme coin with an animal on it. Right. Those are essential utilities. The former are essential utilities that are very useful and will bring a lot of value to PulseChain. And ultimately, that value at the end of the cycle will end up back in the hands of the people that have the store of value, which is likely to be, in my opinion, Pulse and Hex. Right. So I think that's one thing I would like people to understand is that we're not your enemy. We're your friend.
Beautiful, man. Perfect, man. So where can people follow you guys, man?
Dylan.
You can follow me on Twitter at BB_trippin. Stands for bitches be trippin'. You can follow me there. If you have any questions or if you want any testnet money, the fake phony stuff, you can message me on Telegram at Hexastani. I'll answer your questions and send you some testnet coins. And if you have any really stupid questions, you can always DM Buck. He loves the really dumb questions, guys.
It's like left chat. No, that's hella funny, but that's beautiful, man. And obviously, I've got the Twitters for both the projects in the description box, as well as I'll get out their Twitters and stuff like that and everything after the show and stuff. So beautiful, man. Is Buck back in?
I think I'm here. Yes. Yeah. No, Dylan's very right. I have a very short attention span and short patience for people that ask me dumb questions, especially people that are going to sacrifice $5. If you are one of those people, you should definitely DM Dylan and not me. I'm a very busy person. I'm about to have a child. I would highly appreciate it if you talk to Dylan and not me. if you're one of these people. Dylan is a very nice person, as you can tell. He's friendly, and he's the face of our project for a reason. I'm more prickly.
Right. Wow. So I got about 350 for you guys, man. Well, that's beautiful, man. So, hey, thank you so much for coming, you guys. This is really interesting. This is something that a lot of my guys did SAC for as well and stuff like that. And you know, we think this is a really great project, and it's great to have you guys on. Well, we will have you guys back on, especially when things get more rolling, and especially when that Ethereum version comes out and the airdrop and stuff. You guys will definitely be back on. It'll be really interesting to talk then. And
very exciting.
Yeah, make sure you get some rest, man. Get some sleep, man, because I've heard legends of people not sleeping once the kid's born.
But yeah, we really appreciate you having us on, and you know, I think this is a great conversation, sir. So you know, once again, we appreciate it.
No problem, man. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me, you guys. My next stream will be at Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will have a special guest to be announced, but pretty big guy on Instagram and on actually Instagram, TikTok, and a couple other platforms. So catch you guys later, man. Peace.